Welcome to PodWavePulse. In today's news, actually, forget the news. We're diving deep into something much bigger. We're talking about AI and why, if your business isn't on board, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, and we're not just talking keeping up with the Joneses here. This is about the fundamental shift in how we do business, and the stakes are high.
Really high. From what you've shared, it seems like the companies that hesitate, that wait to see how AI shakes out, well, they might find themselves boxed out entirely.
It's not about being a little behind the curve. What we're seeing in these sources suggests that late AI adoption could actually put you at a real disadvantage.
And this isn't some vague future threat either, right?
Yeah.
Like things are moving so fast already, the companies that jumped in early are seeing huge benefits.
Exactly. Think about efficiency gains and just the customer experience. Early adopters, they're already miles ahead.
And that gap, it's only going to get bigger.
It is, and fast. Look, almost 90% of business leaders are saying that they expect AI to be a major driver of revenue growth in the next few years.
Wow, 90%. That's pretty telling.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, think about it. This is something that's happening now. This isn't hype. It's tangible.
Okay, so no time to waste. But before we get too deep into the present, maybe let's take a step back. AI isn't new. I mean, we've seen periods of hype before.
Right. Those so-called AI winters where things cool off. But what's interesting is, historically, the companies that really leaned in, even during those slower periods, they ended up reaping major benefits later on.
It's like they were laying the groundwork while everyone else was waiting.
Precisely. And I think that's a key takeaway here. It's about playing the long game.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Even with all this buzz, we're seeing a lot of hesitation. I mean, a lot of companies are dragging their feet.
Yeah, and it's understandable. Especially for smaller businesses, it can be really daunting. I mean, leadership might be a little hesitant, or there might be this fear of the unknown, right?
I can see that.
And even just figuring out what AI can actually do for your specific business, like where to even begin, it can be overwhelming.
So how do you get past that? You mentioned this idea of a modular approach.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so instead of this big bang approach, trying to do everything AI all at once, think about it more like building blocks. You start with one area, maybe something that's causing a bottleneck or could really benefit.
So you're saying focus on what you need right now, not necessarily some huge overhaul.
Right. Pick a specific problem, implement an AI solution, and then you see how it goes. You learn, you adapt, and you build from there. It's a much more manageable way to get started.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of an evolution, not a revolution.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the competitive landscape. How is AI changing the game? Who are the winners and losers here?
Well, we're already seeing a pretty clear divide. The early adopters, they're not just keeping up. They're setting a new pace.
So they're becoming more efficient.
Way more efficient. But it goes beyond that. Think about developing entirely new products or creating these incredibly personalized experiences for customers.
And this is especially true for merchants, right?
Especially for merchants. They've got all these pressures. Personalized shopping, security, keeping up with trends. AI can help them with all of that.
So for a merchant, the question isn't just, can I afford to adopt AI? It's, can I afford not to?
That's a great way to put it. They risk losing customers, losing market share if they don't get on board.
And the thing is, they're not just playing catch-up. They're potentially missing out on shaping the future of their industry.
Absolutely. By using AI in creative ways, these companies, they can set new standards, and that's a huge advantage.
So what about the companies that wait? What are the risks for them?
Well, for one, there's this very real possibility of just being left behind, as the market concentrates around these AI-powered companies.
Okay, so you're not even in the game anymore.
Right. And then there's this, and this might sound a little sci-fi, but this idea of algorithmic collusion.
What's that?
So imagine these really sophisticated AI systems, right? They're learning, they're adapting, and they start optimizing for outcomes that, without even meaning to, disadvantage the companies that aren't using AI.
So it's not even intentional. It's just the AI doing its thing.
Exactly. And it's something to really consider because the impact could be significant.
Wow. Okay, so the risks are real, and they're not just about falling behind technologically. They're about being left out entirely.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the financial cost of waiting. It can't just be about missed opportunities, right? What are the actual downsides?
Well, think about losing clients to competitors who are offering a better, more efficient AI-powered experience.
And that's lost revenue, right?
Lost revenue, shrinking market share, and it can happen really quickly.
How quickly?
Well, Some companies that adopted AI early, they're seeing returns on their investment within a year.
A year. So this isn't some long-term gamble,
Not at all. The benefits can be immediate.
which makes waiting even harder to justify
It does. It really does. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to catch up.
because the gap just keeps widening.
Exactly.
And what about the long-term financial picture? What does that look like for companies that are hesitant about AI?
It's not just about short-term losses. You risk becoming irrelevant in an increasingly AI-driven economy. That's not just bad for your bottom line. It could be existential for your business.
So it's not just a technology upgrade. It's about survival.
In a way, yes.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the urgency, the risks, but what about the challenges of actually implementing AI? I mean, it can't all be smooth sailing, right?
Yeah, right. There are real challenges. One thing that often gets overlooked is that we still need human expertise.
Oh, interesting. You're saying AI isn't a replacement for people.
Not entirely. Think about research, development, strategic thinking. These are areas where human intuition and experience are still essential.
So it's more of a partnership.
Exactly. AI augments human capabilities. It doesn't replace them.
That's a good point. What about the actual cost of using AI tools? Are they always cost-saving?
Well, some AI tools can be expensive. There are subscription fees that can add up, especially as you scale up.
So it's not just a one-time purchase.
No. And even for the companies developing these tools, there are massive operational costs. OpenAI reportedly lost a lot of money just running their models.
Really?
Yeah. So it's important to consider all the costs, not just the upfront price tag.
Are there other hidden costs that companies might not be thinking about?
One thing that sometimes gets missed is what we call user engagement costs.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
So with some AI tools, you have to spend a lot of time interacting with them, refining the output, getting it just right.
Right.
And that time, that's a cost too.
I see. So it's not always as simple as just plugging in an AI and letting it do its thing.
Right. And perhaps most importantly, companies need to make sure that their AI strategy aligns with their overall business goals.
So don't just jump on the AI bandwagon without thinking about how it fits to your bigger picture.
Exactly. It has to be strategic and intentional.
Okay, so for our listeners who are thinking, okay, I'm behind, what do I do? What are some concrete steps they can take to catch up?
First, you need to understand the internal challenges. Is there resistance from leadership? Are people afraid of the unknown? Once you understand the barriers, you can start addressing them.
So start with an honest assessment of where you are.
Exactly. And training, education is key.
For everyone in the company.
For everyone who's going to be involved with AI, yes. And it's important to highlight early successes, show people that AI can actually deliver results.
Did some wins on the board.
Right. And involve the people who will be using these tools in the implementation process. That's crucial for buy-in.
Make them part of the solution.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've got buy-in. How do you actually integrate AI into the workflow?
You need a detailed plan, a roadmap for implementation. And you need to get the people who will be using the tools involved in that planning.
So don't just spring it on them.
No. Get them involved from the start.
And once you've implemented AI, how do you know if it's actually working?
You need to track key performance indicators. What are your goals? And is AI helping you achieve them?
Measure the results.
Right.
Okay, so before you even start implementing AI, how do you know if you're ready?
You can do an AI readiness assessment. Look at your data, your technology, your existing initiatives. It'll give you a clear picture of where you stand.
So know where you are before you start the journey.
Exactly. And once you know where you are, you can develop a roadmap, a structured plan for AI implementation.
So you're saying be proactive, have a plan, and don't wait.
Exactly. And the reason for the urgency is that we're in this incredibly rapid period of technological change. We're talking about the fourth industrial revolution here.
So companies that don't adapt are going to be left behind.
It's not even about being left behind. It's about becoming irrelevant.
Okay, so looking ahead, what does the future hold for companies that do embrace AI?
The future of work is going to be completely transformed by AI. We're talking about a level of change that we haven't seen in generations.
And it's happening fast. Faster than most people realize.
We touched on this earlier, but can you give some specific examples of how AI is going to change things?
Sure. In finance, we're already seeing AI being used for fraud detection, loan processing, asset management. In healthcare, it's being used for diagnostics, drug discovery, personalized medicine. And that's just the beginning.
It's really mind-blowing.
It is. And what's fascinating is how all these different factors are
Yeah.
converging. The historical trends, the competitive pressures, the economic realities. It all points to the same conclusion. AI is not optional.
It's the future.
It's the present, and it's the future.
So for our listeners today, the takeaway is clear. Delaying AI integration isn't just about missing out on the latest tech. It's about putting your entire organization at risk. It's about your future viability, your ability to compete, even your survival.
The key is to be proactive, to plan strategically,
Yeah.
and to be willing to adapt to this rapidly changing landscape.
So the question for you is, what steps can you take today to assess your AI readiness and start building your roadmap?
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. For more insights on this and other crucial topics, subscribe to our channel.